Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time, Ban got a phone call from some guy that's been threatening something, saying back off. And then eventually today, the first time ever, he said or else. And then he put the phone to somebody else and it turned out that it was his partner in crime. Not partner in crime, partner in law. It's the opposite of crime, I guess it is law. Sewer, and he's being held hostage by this guy. He says, "I'm at the hospital," or Sewer says, "I'm at the hospital." But before he gets to say the full name of the hospital, he gets cut off. But Ban knows where he is, and he's now gonna go find him. And he's got into the little reception area. So let's see where Ban's at. Where you at, Ban? Human presence quickly faded from the hospital, cloaked in night. Perhaps after taking in all the life and death during the sky, it took this time to regain balance. At this time, the hospital housed neither the scent of life nor the scent of death, only a quiet emptiness reigned. Banyosuji chuckled to himself as he realized the odd nature of his thoughts. Despite the minor self-flagellation, it did indeed feel especially quiet tonight. It was not yet time for the lights to be on, leaving the corridors steeped in darkness. There was not even a single sign of any nurses. Immediately after stepping foot into the lobby, Ban was hit with a very bad feeling. This is interesting because this isn't how hospitals are. Hospitals run like 24 hours because, you know, people will need help all the time. Or are we saying because this has like a predominantly large mental hospital department that this hospital's different? But I don't think so. I mean, maybe that's the reason why. That's the justification. But even so, people will be rushed to a mental hospital any time of the day, won't they? Right? Am I going crazy? Is this not how it would normally be? Anyway, immediately after stepping foot into the lobby, Ban was hit with a very bad feeling. There was no logical reason behind it. It was simply that what one might call a detective's gut. My gut is usually right for the most part. In his mind, he believed it to be an oddly superstitious thought, but this may have simply been a way to dismiss the feeling. While the taxi had driven him to the hospital, Ban had attempted to call Sewer's phone numerous times, but each and every one of them had failed, which only serves to demonstrate his junior's precarious situation all the more clearly. There was no time to waste. He had to find the place where Sewer was being held, within the large hospital, and rescue him. All the while not being detected by the kidnapper. Which is why, of course, he went through the main entrance. The linoleum floor would have made his footsteps echo. To avoid this, Ban took off his shoes before entering the lobby. Winter was swiftly approaching at this time of year, a fact Ban was readily made aware of when the chill from the floor sent shivers up his soles. Ban-san. The sound of the automatic front door echoed throughout the room, followed by the voice of a girl calling out Ban-san's name. Is it Yua? What the fuck are you doing here? The surprise of seeing him in the lobby put Ban at a loss for words. He hurried toward her in a panic. Beyond her glasses, her eyes threw anxious glances at her surroundings. Why'd you follow me? I told you to hide somewhere safe. I'm sorry, but Ban looked for any signs of Momose, but she was nowhere to be seen. Realizing that she'd come alone, Ban scratched the top of his head with a concerned expression. You need to leave, now. This isn't a game. I understand that, I do, but... If you understand, then take your butt back! Right as he spoke, a creaking sound came from the hallway across the lobby. In the very center of this empty, dark hallway, slowly an empty wheelchair made its way toward Ban and Yua. An empty wheelchair? It's not empty! Then at nearly the same exact time, someone could be heard running up the stairs. Yua-chan, get out of here now, you hear me? Before he had even finished giving his warning, Ban had already started running. He followed the footsteps up the stairs without waiting for Yua's answer. Given his typically languid demeanor, the speed at which Ban moved was like nothing anyone could have ever imagined. As he followed the footsteps, Ban found himself on the roof of the outpatient ward. There were lines of shrubbery installed on the rooftop, forming a garden of sorts. It was most likely a space of healing for the patients there, but regrettably, as the lights were off, Ban could not see what kind of flowers were blooming there. Oh yeah, that is a shame. Given the fact Ban was on the roof, it was only natural that the wind would blow strong. With ragged breaths, Ban quickly surveyed his surroundings. Without a shadow of doubt, this is where the man behind the footsteps must have run, but now he was nowhere to be seen. Was I led here on purpose? The man had fled, while causing sounds that had seemed purposeful. Ban could not think of any other reason for him to have done that aside from leading him here. Ban did not have his gun on him, as he was apprehensive about being unarmed. He looked for something that could serve as a weapon, but to no avail. With a gulp, he wiped away the sweat on his forehead with his fingers. Step by step, he made his way to the centre of the garden. Here and there, Ban could see a few hiding spots tucked within the shadows of the benches and shrubbery. Oh! I wonder whether, you know when Ayase, is that her name? When she jumped off the school building, did she somehow land on one of these flower beds from the hospital? Interesting. Here and there, Ban could see a few hiding spots tucked within the shadows of the benches and shrubbery. He put himself into a fully alert state, one in which he could respond to a potential attacker, no matter the direction they came from. The garden was set up in a circular fashion with benches placed around it, in accordance with its shape. Ban strained his eyes as he looked at each bench in order, and on one of those benches his eyes landed upon a strange object. Keeping a close look at his surroundings, he slowly approached the bench. Honor, can I approach the bench? Sorry, I don't know why I said that. And as he got closer to it, its shape was made clear to him. Oh, Darth Spider, whatever it was. It was around the size of a soccer ball. Round and dark. It was a severed human head. Ban, who had investigated countless murder cases involving dismemberment in the past, quickly recalled an image of a photo he'd once seen. The bad feeling in his chest grew stronger and stronger. Recognizing the possibility of it being his junior's head, vengeful anger and furious rage toward the perpetrator bubbled up within him. Ban gritted his teeth and drew even closer to the bench. The object did not move a single inch. The wind of the night continued to blow. Then, Ban heard a gunshot. He froze in response to the sudden sound. Normally the detective would duck and investigate the direction the sound had come from, but he wasn't able to do even that. No. In actuality, there was no need for him to do that anymore. Feeling a burning heat in his chest, Ban touched it with his hand. Oh, he's been shot, fuck. A slippery sensation. Something was flowing out from his body, accompanied by the very particular smell of blood. It must be blood then. Only a short moment following the gunshot did Ban's mind begin to register pain within him. He'd been shot. The moment he realised this, all strength left his legs. Oh my god. Is Ban dead? Unable to remain standing, he collapsed to the ground. He's probably my favourite character. I don't want him to die. Oh fuck. The footsteps from earlier were approaching him. As his vision grew blurry, he desperately looked up at the person drawing near. A dark shadow with a gun in its hand. A shadow so dark, Ban could not recognise its face. Man. Oh, okay. A voice came. I told you to back off, but you just couldn't help yourself. A voice he recognised. A real shame, sir. Ban collapsed in a heap, was met with the ridicule of one man, Sua Mamora. As I live and breathe. Sua! You shot me! You bet. Guess it's time to celebrate my first shot while out on the field, eh? As he laughed into the night, Sewer casually picked up the object from the bench. While I've got you here, sir, you are eyeing this an awful lot. Is it really that weird to see? This Darth Spider helmet, I mean. Sewer, who had now returned to Ban, held the dark helmet in front of the detective's face in an ostentatious manner. He's a baddie. I knew he was a baddie. Ha! Serves me right. As Ban laughed, his vision grew blurrier and blurrier. Both his arms and legs felt extremely hot. His chest hurt, but not just from physical pain. He also felt an intense gaze upon him, but he had no more strength to conclude whether it was Sewer's or someone else's. Knowing that his life would last only a few more minutes, Ban forced his growingly heavy body to face upward. With arms and legs outstretched, only the night sky lay above him. A sky overcast with no stars to be seen, but even if there were any left in the sky, Ban had long since lost the ability to see them. After a few coughs, the taste of blood spread through his mouth. Sewer, I've got a word. You're a schmuck, and you're still a hopeless kid. A boneheaded schmuck of a detective, beyond help. But still, I never once doubted you. You were giving us way too much trouble, sir. Nothing I could do about it. Huh. I get what you mean. Ban's breathing grew increasingly shallow. Only a faint wheezing sound could be heard leaking through his throat. Before long, he would be unable to perceive anything anymore. Who the hell are you? With his consciousness fading in and out, Ban spoke one final question, and in response, Sewer pointed the muzzle at Ban, then gave his reply. I'm a bona fide wizard. Ha, you schmuck. Before either of them could realize it, the wind had stopped blowing. The darkness had quickly turned to a place of serenity, and within it 2 figures remained frozen still. But that too remained only for an ephemeral. Oh, I'm gonna have to look out. This word's come up before. Pronounce it for me, Google. Ephemeral, of course it is. Ephemeral moment. Sewer's finger, now curled around the trigger, slowly moved inward. Bang. May the divine light save you, sir. Wow. Right, Takumi's in a way. Oh, who's there? Grim? Who are you, Grim? What? Lol. Yeah, Grim will know. Grim's known you for a while, right? After all this time. Only now you become Chuny. Lamau. Kick me. Or were you rejected by an in-real-life girl? IRL girl? Kill me. In that case, I've got some good news for you. Kill me. Killy. Kill me. If you stay a virgin until 30. Kill me. You become a wizard. Is Sewer going to be a wizard? Is it Grim going to be Sewer? Is Grim going to be Sewer? Is that what's happening? Kill me. Yeah, is Grim Sewer. That'd be interesting. That's a pro tip. Kill me. Speaking of pro tips, check this out. Apparently there's going to be a festival in about an hour. Kill me. I'll be at Shibuya's Scramble Crossing. It'll be at Shibuya's Scramble Crossing. Jesus, you're annoying. What the fuck, lol? Well, if that's what you want, you should go. Kill me. You're a celebrity, so you'll be the center of attention. Maybe you can get someone there to kill you. Turning off my PC monitor, I hugged my knees with my arms. So please, someone kill me. Big bro! Do you hear me in there? Oh, and an army's come to save me. In my hand was Sarah Tan, my one and only ally. Hey, open up! Perhaps because I'd been holding her in my sweaty hands for a while, her slender limbs were all sticky. And not only that, but her arms had been bent. Come on, open up! No delusions is what we're going with, right? That voice. It couldn't be. How? You big jerk! There was no way I'd misheard that. Out of every girl that had visited my base, there was only one dumbass that would scream outside of it like that. Nanami was here. I was somewhat surprised at how indifferent I felt in response to that fact. I just didn't care. What would her coming here while I was this far gone even do for me? Besides, it wasn't like it was out of the ordinary for Nanami to come here. Hanrimi said that she was going to rescue her anyway. If you don't open the door right now, then you're really mean! The noise was starting to irritate me. Just leave a monster like me alone. But also, yeah, if we're going to believe Remy, then we also need to accept the fact that Nanami is still kidnapped, or someone has Nanami. Nanami should have been focused on her right hand, not me. Not that I knew what had happened to it. I didn't have it in me to talk to anyone anymore. Hey! But she was being too loud, so I was forced to get up from my chair and head over to the door. The door seemed oh so far away from me, which made me realise I was scared to see her. Am I going to open it? Ah! The second I opened the door, Nanami shivered a little, then fell silent. Big bro! Even though she'd been shouting at the top of her lungs just a few moments ago, she was acting strangely meek now. I was confused. I'd barely ever seen Nanami act like this. So a thought crossed my mind. Was this Nanami real? If you were here, you should have answered sooner. Can I come in? I didn't answer. Ignoring her question, I headed back into my room and sat down on the sofa. I once again took hold of my Sarah Tan figure and gripped her tightly. So tight, in fact, that my hand hurt slightly. But it didn't matter, because that pain too was a delusion. Nanami followed after me, entering the room in silence. Once she came inside, as if she didn't know what to do at that point, she moved aside the magazines scattered across the floor and squatted down. She didn't speak, even though normally she'd have started scolding me the second she got the chance. She looked at a fixed point on the ground as she hugged her knees close. She had a depressed look on her face, A bandage was barely visible beneath the sleeve on her right wrist. I was about to say, if you sit like that, I'll see your panties, but stopped myself. Good, Takumi. Finally, it takes a traumatic event to see some development as a character. This tsunami had to be a delusion. I was one too, after all. Everything in this world was made up of delusions. Delusions developed only within my mind. Both me and this delusion I was looking at were fake. So if I saw her panties, even if she walked around town buck naked, it made no difference to me whatsoever. Averting my gaze from Nanami, I looked up at the ceiling. With no particular goal in mind, I started counting the rusty spots. I didn't want to look at Nanami. I'd only feel empty if I did. Silence took over. Only the sound of the fan on my PC could be heard throughout the cramped room. Even though every time Nanami came to my base it turned into my own personal hell, one that was annoying as could be, I still felt that way. But those memories too might have been delusions. Hey, big bro! Say something! A voice devoid of all energy. This couldn't be Nanami. Therefore, she must have been a delusion. Why won't you say anything? Doesn't the bandage worry you? I concentrated on my task of counting the rusty spots. I don't care. You're a delusion. Even if you were the real one, I'm completely unrelated to you. I'm a delusion, so I'm not related to you by blood. Say something, please. The sound of rustling cloth rang throughout the quiet room, followed by a ringing in my ears. My head hurt. These two were delusions, though, so I paid them no mind. Whether Nanami was throwing off her clothes, taking off her bandage, or doing something unthinkable, it wouldn't surprise me. I didn't care. This was a delusion, and so was I. Even if there wasn't a concrete line of logic, it was the obvious conclusion to reach. And that was the end of that. Hey, look! I wasn't going to look. I was too afraid. Thankfully, the bruise is pretty much gone now. It was super swollen at first. I was playing basketball when I fell pretty hard. Won't you at least look at it? Then again, you've never really worried about me before. Huh, big bro. Even though I always worry about you. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to think about anything. Hey. Oh, hey Nanami? Without meeting her eyes, I called out to my sister, or to the girl whose identity I wasn't sure of. I don't care whether you're real or fake, so... Right now I only wanted one thing. Won't you... kill me? My god. Jesus. At the front entrance of AH Tokyo General Hospital, Kozunoki Yua fixed her gaze beyond the automatic door. Having been told by Ban to get out of here now, she reluctantly complied and went outside. However, in her worry, she could not bring herself to go any farther. Ban had followed the mysterious figure and vanished up the hospital stairs. It had not even been 3 minutes since then, but hoping that Ban had already returned, Yua peeked into the lobby. This was after Ban had headed into the hospital alone. Yua had ignored Momose's orders and had followed after him. Also, she could get one step closer to the truth behind her little sister's death and the true perpetrator. The person that had told Ban to back off over the phone and had abducted Ban's junior, someone who must have been named Suwa-san, was most likely the same one that had killed her sister, Mia. That was the feeling Yua had. Hang on, why is she thinking that Suwa is necessarily the killer? The person that had told Ban to back off over the phone and had abducted Ban's junior, someone who must have been named Suwa-san. Oh, I see. They're saying that this person that told Ban to... These are not necessarily the same person, right? That's okay, I got it. Despite Ban's various warnings about the dangers of involving herself with this case, Yua had come nonetheless. Moreover, it was not as though Yua would be able to achieve anything by coming here. She is nothing more than a powerless high schooler after all. Somewhere in her mind, Yua hoped that Ban would simply come running gallantly back after apprehending the culprit. If that happened, she could have the opportunity to question them directly. Why did my sister have to die? That was the one thing Yua had to ask. Suddenly, Yua felt a gaze upon her. She nervously scanned her surroundings. It had not even been 2 hours since the sun had set, yet, oddly enough, the hospital's front entrance was eerily quiet. Right next to it was the urgent care entrance, which also served as the entrance for emergencies, and yet not even there housed any signs of human presence. A train gently ran along its tracks beside the hospital. Hardly any cars passed by the large street in front of it, and there was nary a single passerby. Housed between the sleepless cities of Shibuya and Shinjuku, where Yua was akin. What? Where Yua was akin to an abyss of darkness. What the fuck is that sentence? Where Yua was akin to an abyss of darkness. Housed between the sleepless cities. Am I going crazy? Housed between the sleepless cities of Shibuya and Shinjuku, where Yua was akin to an abyss of darkness. Right, I feel like there should be punctuation over here, maybe. Formed in the interstice. I'm going to have to look that up. Am I just tired? Is that what's happening? It is 10 to 4. Let's have a look. Interstice. Pronounce. Interstice. Interstice. Of two bursts of binding light. What is that word? What does it mean? It means a space that intervenes between things. No figure that could conceivably be responsible for the gaze was visible. Holding back her anxiety, Yua placed her hand on her chest and let out a small sigh. Following this, she found herself glancing over at the hospital ward. Oh! Hello! Ah! There at the entrance to the hospital ward stood a single girl. The lights were out, rendering the area very dimly lit, and yet the girl's figure was clearly visible amid the darkness. Mia-chan? Without intending to, Yua whispered that name. Her sense of reason told her it was impossible, but nonetheless, she could not keep those words from escaping. The girl was a mirror image of her. A mirror image of her twin sister that was no longer of this world. Moreover, Yua recognized the clothes that she was wearing. She knew, almost for a fact, they were her sister's clothes. The possibility of her perhaps being a ghost filled Yua with fear. Fear that made her hair stand on end. Suddenly, the girl turned and headed for the automatic door marking the entrance to the hospital ward. The moment she grew close enough, the door quietly slid open. It isn't a ghost. Yua was in shock, but before she could register anything more, she promptly ran after the girl and into the hospital ward. Inside, perhaps due to it being past closing time, it was even quieter than outside. Each time Yua took a step forward, her footsteps echoed forth into the depths of the corridor. It had been just the same in the outpatient ward, but the fact that it was even quieter here made her very uneasy. The girl had disappeared up the stairs. Yua heard the faint sounds of laughter coming from ahead. A bit disconcerting. It's like a scene straight out from a ghost story. With that on her mind, Yua cautiously made her way to the stairs, step by step. She arrived on the second floor. Glancing around the corridor, she did not see anyone. Something she'd expected. But just as she was suspecting that it may have been a mere illusion... A girl's laughter sounded from the floor above. That voice and the sound of its laughter were identical to what Yua had heard time and time again in the past. Climbing to the third floor and looking down the corridor, Yua saw a girl with the same face as her, standing there. one of the victims of the first New Gen case, the group dive, her little sister, who should have died 2 months ago. Kusanagi Mia was stood right there with an unmistakable sense of presence. That's impossible. Yua removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. However, even after putting her glasses back on, she looked to see that Mia was still there. Is it you, Mia-chan? What do you think? A voice so clear, it could never be an illusion. And that intrepid smile on her face, that laughter in the air. It was exactly the same as Yua remembered from her sister. Mia had always acted this very same way. In order for her to be the wrongdoer in the eyes of others, she'd laughed like that all the time. Mia-chan. Do you really think that I'm Mia and you're Yua? What do you mean? What if you've got it backward? You're Mia. Yua's the one who died. And you're the one who killed her. What are you saying? You were so displeased with the love your parents had for your older sister, you went online and hired an assassin. And on top of that, to make it seem like suicide, you made 4 strangers jump off alongside her. You posed as the poor big sister mourning her little sister's death, tears full of deceit running down your face. And once you finally got your parents' love that they'd only had for your big sister, you laughed from the deepest depths of your heart. You're wrong! I'm Yua. And who can prove that exactly? Should be Yua. But you're not sure. What can prove that I am me? Your face? Your name? Your memories? Even though it's me. I can't prove who I myself am. Could it be that I'm Mia? Didn't you look into all sorts of things? Multiple personalities? Sleepwalking? Fabricated memories and lastly delusions. The concepts Yua herself had been looking into prior to now showed just how real the ambiguity of memories, or perhaps recollections, truly was. She didn't know nor understand herself anymore. What was she? Yua cradled her head as she shook it in denial. Who am I? Who are you? Was she Yua, who had always played the good child and was automatically loved and cherished by her parents? Was she Mia, who'd always played the bad child and was actively hated by her parents? The child who, despite her actions being her own, oft cast her sister glares of jealousy and hatred? Now you. It's weird. Mia or possibly Yua guided Yua or possibly Mia as she walked down the corridor soundlessly. She'll suffer the same fate as you. Yua and Mia, identical twins, faces a mirror image of one another, and the boundary that served to differentiate the two was growing more and more blurred. Oh, okay. See ya? 2 enormous boxes stood tall within darkness. And yet, compared to the nearby Shinjuku skyscrapers, they were akin to a small child looking up at their parents. The hospital roof. That was where Yua found herself, having been led there by Mia. A section of the towering fence had been torn open just wide enough to allow a person to fit through it, whether this was an intentional effort, none could say. Mia and Yua, after moving through the torn section of the outer side of the fence, both now stood at the edge of the roof. Before them, the outpatient ward. As that location was lower than the hospital ward, the entire breadth of the roof garden was visible to them. However, the lights were still turned off, so even if there were people there, Yua would be unable to know. The wind blew strongly on the rooftop. The gale made Yua's and Mia's soft hair flutter, along with the hems of their clothes. In the beginning, we were both one. So now we are simply returning to one again. Should I take one step? I shall become you. Yua, her eyes vacant of all light, mechanically whispered those emotionless words. Spreading her arms to maintain her balance, she endured the upward rising wind. Beside her, Mia, arms spread just as Yua's were, looked at her sister and smiled. You don't have to endure it for long. But you do have to learn what it feels like. My pain. So, time to jump. That way both you and I will share the same pain. Which am I? Me? You? There's no point in asking that. No matter which it is. I will jump. All hesitation left within Yua. No, all hesitation left within Yua disappeared, and so moving her foot forward, she... Ugh. A gunshot tore through the dark night. Oh, at this point when Bam was shot. And with a start, Yua came to her senses. Realizing where she was, she let out a frightful scream. The sheer height of where she stood immediately disoriented her, making her lose her balance. She nearly fell, but in her desperation she shot her hand toward the fence behind her and grabbed onto it. Because of this, she successfully managed to avoid being met with a terrible fate. The gunshot had come from the roof of the outpatient ward, leading her to look at it once more. In the circular clearing on the roof garden, she managed to spot multiple figures. There were two of them. One was on the ground and the other stood beside them. Ansan! Had the detective shot someone, or had the detective been shot by someone? What are you doing? Why won't you suffer the same pain as me? You're such a coward. Do you realize how unfair that is? Mia-chan. No. I'm Yua. But I'm Yua. No. You're Mia. What on earth are you... I'm what you wished for. You're what I wished for. Okay. Mia reached for her sister. Placing her hands around Yua's neck, she began to strangle her. Yua felt a strong pressure on her throat. She could no longer breathe. Ah! Ah! Mia was no ghost. She definitely had a body of flesh and blood, and now she was strangling Yua with it. Please, die for me. Just this once, do this for me. I've endured this all alone for far too long. Yua's vision grew crimson. She reached her hands out into the air in front of her, but found herself unable to grasp anything. I'm going to die. Awash with her most extreme dread, using her whole body, Yua called upon strength she did not even know she had, as she tried desperately to break free from Mia's grasp. But Mia was too strong. Yua was unable to move her even a single inch. Even Yua's thoughts were dyed crimson. It felt as though her consciousness was being coated in a layer of viscous blood. In a desperate frenzy, she shook her head so violently her glasses fell from her face, and from that point onward, to an outside observer, Yua and Mia were no longer distinguishable. It did not matter who killed whom. The result was arbitrary. If Yua died, all Mia would have to do was become Yua. If Mia died, all Yua would have to do was become Mia. Feelings of resignation steadily spread through Yua's heart. Before her eyes was Mia's, or possibly Yua's face. Seeping with anger. Not wanting to see such a sight, she looked away. And what vaulted into her red field of view was the shrubbery. The shrubbery and the flowers adorning the roof garden. In her mind, Yua felt that there was a shadow among those flowers. The likes of which she'd never seen before. Oh, it's a D-sword. Though perhaps it was simply an illusion, she had dropped her glasses in the struggle after all. However, no longer able to breathe and suffering from so much pain, a faint sense of peace gradually rose from within her. Despite her thoughts of simply surrendering herself and peacefully passing on, her instinctive desire not to die denied her of that peace. It made Yua extend her hand toward that disparate shadow. Her distance from the shrubbery was about 2 meters. How she was now, there was no way she would reach it, even if she were to extend her hand. And yet, her fingertips touched something hard and cold. She then grasped it almost immediately unconsciously. The second she did so, Kusanagi Yua's consciousness, right on the verge of fading, instantly became clear, as though the haze had been dispelled from her mind. There was an invisible yet fierce impact. Her sister, rained upon by showering red light, akin to petals, was blown away. Languidly standing up as she gasped for air, Yua looked at what she was holding and instantly doubted her eyes. Oh, there she is. It was a sword. All too sharp like the wit shown by the other. All too sharp like the wit shown by the other, all too elegant like the glasses worn by one. All too vigorous, all too immaculate. All too profound its nature veiled, all too delicate its frame easy to fracture. Two sides of the same coin. And so beautiful it beckoned tears from all who laid eyes upon it, or the opposite. And so beautiful it beckoned tears— oh, it's the same! From all who laid eyes upon it. What on earth? The object was now in her hands. It reminded Yua of Ayase's sword that she'd seen at the overpass and of the sword that Ban had spoken of, Senna's. What was that? Mia, after being blown away by the mysterious impact, had been buried in the shrubbery. As she held her head, she freed herself from it and crawled back to her feet. What have you done? Mia-chan, I think I finally understand why I went to such great lengths to learn the truth behind your death. Did you try to kill me? Did I almost just die again? Again? In the end, I was afraid of you. I thought you'd let yourself die out of spite. I didn't understand you. I wanted to prove that your death wasn't my fault. I wanted to feel some kind of relief. I'm the worst big sister ever, huh? Why won't you die? She could no longer get through to her. Their two selves, once together in the beginning, had now diverged completely, never to return to one again. Mia reached to grab her once more, reminded of the pain she'd experienced before. Yua's trembles of dread returned, leading her to... No! Uh-oh. Brandish her sword. It carved a sharp trail and then cut the ghost in half. Mia's movements came to a halt, with a look of shock on her face. She traced the wounds of gouged flesh from her hand, beginning from the left side of her torso and ending all the way to her right shoulder. No blood sprang forth. Mia-chan died 2 months ago. So if that's true, who are you? Countless particles, large enough to be seen by the naked eye, came flowing out from within Mia. Her body, now enveloped in bubbles, gradually collapsed to the ground as her silhouette faded and faded. It was now transforming into something else. Oh yeah? Yua with feelings of incredulity saw what it was. After a moment's wait, a man with an impressive large physique appeared in Mia's place. He was wearing a denim shirt, jeans, and a rucksack on his back. Yua had never seen the man before. Who are you? Why did you turn into Mia-chan? How did... Yua backed away in confusion, still holding her D-sword. The man was similarly bewildered. He'd likely not predicted that he would have been uncovered, leaving him to act in a very clearly frantic manner. I'm the one who's confused here. This brat's a giggly maniac. Nobody fucking told me. Shit, what do I do? And then, ignoring gravity itself, it came flying in, its path almost horizontal. Huh? By the time the man looked behind him, it had already perforated the rucksack on his back. And from that same rucksack, a pale flash of light surged. The man, as though he'd just received an electric shock, stiffened up like a pole. His eyes shot open wide, and only a moment later he lost consciousness, falling face first to the ground. He foamed at the mouth, and every so often, his body would twitch. The object that had pierced the rucksack was Senna's sword. It was a sword quite like the one Yua had obtained just a moment ago, with beautiful curves adorning its very edge, its every edge. This is... Yua remembered the sword. She'd seen it once before. Or is it Ayase's? A single presence approached her. Yua raised her hand, no, her head. Someone then emerged from the darkness. There she is. Ayase. I was curious about what was transpiring, but to think the disturbance would be so great. Kishimoto-san. Without a change in her expression, Ayase glanced at the sword Yua held in her hands. I can feel it. The greater will. So that was the meaning behind why I came to stay in this hospital. Is that... Hang on. That's Ayase saying that, is it? Huh? Yua had sunk into the ground dumbfounded. Ayase picked up the glasses that had fallen near her, crouched down in front of Yua and peered at the girl's face. Then with her slender fingers she brushed Yua's hair aside and gently put her glasses back in place. So, you too were one of the Black Knights of Gladial. And with that, Ayase gave a faint, transient smile. Alright. And then we're back to Takumi, and we'll do this next time on Borderline Games. We'll see exactly how Nanami's going to pull Takumi out of his funk. Next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head, and I will see you next time. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye.